Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Canfield, and today we're going to study cause and effect relationships while reading fictional stories. Remember, the effect is what happens in a story, and the cause is why it happens. Today I'm going to read to you one of my favorite stories, After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. And we're going to stop at various points and analyze the cause and effect relationships. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being so close to the birds. Then one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks call it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together again. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. So let's stop here and let's think deeply. Because Humpty falls off the wall, what happens? When I analyzed this book, I noticed that Humpty is not climbing the wall to get his cereal. I noticed that Humpty is not climbing the ladder to get to his bed. So I can infer that Humpty is now afraid of heights because he falls off the wall. I walked past the wall every day and would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Let's stop right here. Because Humpty sees an airplane fly by, what happens? The what is the effect. So I'm going to go back into the text and reread. Eventually I settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. I can infer from the picture that when he sees the airplane, he gets an idea because the author tells me that the plane is an idea flying by. So because Humpty sees a paper airplane, then he gets an idea. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches. But day after day, I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. Let's stop right here and think. Because Humpty makes and flies his own paper airplane, then what happens? I'm going to return to the text. I'm noticing a change in his attitude here. Even though it's hard, he keeps trying. I'm wondering what effect that will have. My plane was perfect and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. I'm noticing something important in the author's words. The author says, I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. So I can see the relationship. Because Humpty makes and flies his own paper bird airplane, then he feels proud and happy. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. Let's stop and think. Because the bird airplane gets stuck on top of the wall, what happens as an effect? When I return to the text, the author's words say, I decided I was going to climb that wall. So therefore, the effect relationship is Humpty decides to climb the wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time. Until I was no longer afraid. Now maybe you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. And learned how to fly. The end. So finally, because Humpty climbs the wall to get his plane, what is the effect? At the end, I notice that he is no longer afraid of heights. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on cause and effect relationships. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Learn Elementary for more educational videos, or connect with me on Instagram and Twitter.